I want to go live to our reporter who has led our coverage on this from the field. Jacqueline Francis, you've watched this unfold all evening long, from 6 o'clock in the evening, where this seemed like it would be something of a protest like you may have covered before, to something like none of us have seen before here in Grand Rapids. Jacqueline.
Yeah, Leon, this is just not anything that we were expecting when we started. It was so peaceful. There was a lot of unity, like you guys have been talking about throughout our coverage just in this hour. But definitely, I would say it was almost like every half an hour, things began to escalate more and more until really it just broke out into complete violence. So as you can see, we've been tear gassed quite a few times. Sometimes it was in the middle of the epicenter of where people were breaking out windows and there were fires. But this last time, even though the crowd isn't as rambunctious as it was, or as compact, there's still a lot of tear gas in the center of downtown, and that it seems like as they continue to do that, more people are leaving. But like you were saying, just to kind of recap tonight, it started with that silent march that was just peaceful, and then that's when protesters went to the Grand Rapids police station, and they had officers with their bicycles guarding the front door. Well, soon after that, the protesters moved to the back of the building, the back of GRPD's, their station there off of Fulton, and that's when they began to bang against the door. That's when we also started seeing the SWAT gear worn. But from there, that's when the vandalism broke out. We watched for hours, people just using graffiti and writing things on. It's kind of started by, they were writing graffiti on the police station building, and then it went to breaking. They were taking down road signs, and then when things really got crazy, that's when they smashed in that business window, and people were running into this store that was on Division in Fulton and stealing things, and a trash can was set on fire. And that's when MSP, Michigan State Police, got on the scene, more law enforcement. They made their presence really known at that point, where kind of earlier in the day they didn't have as many boots on the ground. But once those windows were shattered and there was that fire on the trash can, we began seeing police. Protesters at first were not at all deterred by them. They went right up to the police officers as they had like kind of barricaded shoulder to shoulder standing there. We've seen people throw things at police officers, yelling and kind of trying to antagonize them, possibly. For the most part, police officers have shown no emotion, but of course at some point that's when tear gas began to happen, and that's when you saw crowds of people running every which way trying to recover. And while that may have deterred some, I would say it kind of just, once the tear gas started, people would find a new spot. That's when we saw the side of a building catch fire for a little bit there, and then once that fire was out, people moved again. So kind of downtown Grand Rapids has been like a playground, so to say, for this demonstration that's turned violence. Sorry about that language there. But it's definitely, it's dispersing, but police have definitely, it seems like they have barricaded, or they're really the epicenter of downtown. They seem to have it a little bit more under control, but again, we've seen cars speeding every which way. Like there was cars like parked in the middle of the street and then making U-turns. And so it'll be interesting to see tomorrow all the damage that was done. And I think the most alarming thing, or the most shocking thing, was when there was demonstrators or protesters banging out the windows of the Secretary of State building, and they were going into the building, and it was just kind of like one person at a time taking whatever they could and running at the building as fast and as hard as they could to shatter more windows. We saw glass was flying everywhere. They were trying to light cardboard on fire to get the building on fire, which it didn't. So really it's been we did not see this coming, and as we've heard from organizers tonight, who had initially planned that it was supposed to be a silent march, this was not their plan either. But it'll be interesting to see how the night continues, because I would say right when it got dark is when the violence really started to take over.
Well, incredible to see the images that we've seen tonight, all of the damage that unfolded. I'm curious, and maybe it's not a fair question because I know you've been dealing with hundreds of people out there, but do you get a sense that the folks who are out there now and the folks who were a part of what we saw devolve at the end of the night, do you get a sense that they were participating in what was happening at 6 o'clock, the silent protest that this started with?
It's a different crowd. Maybe some of the same people, but I would say when we were walking in that silent march, it'll be interesting to go back and look at our interviews because I remember at one point this afternoon, I thought the report I'd be telling you right now was interviewing a man and his 8-year-old nephew, and he was showing him the importance of being part of a peaceful demonstration and Black Lives Matter. And it was an inspiring interview to see him kind of showing the next generation he wanted a better future for his nephew. And so if you think about that, where there was a lot of families, people had their dogs and things like that, there was older people, younger people, kids, like I mentioned, that's very, very different than the when things turned a little bit more violent. I would say people are mostly in their 20s or 30s, kind of younger, definitely no kids around, which thankfully so. But it was a different crowd, at least the protesters that stuck it out when things turned more volatile. That was not exactly the makeup of people we saw at the beginning.
Jacqueline Francis, excellent reporting tonight. Thank you for your coverage, a true service to our city as so many people want to know and get an idea of what's going on. You dealt with some difficult conditions to share that story, and we appreciate your work here tonight, and we know that's going to continue even after we're done here.